Hey everyone, it's T-Lore, and today I'm going to go over the UPS strategy for Pirates of the Spanish Main and its expansions. Now, I would call this essentially breaking the game. It is one of the hardest strategies to beat, and we're going to talk about it, and then in future episodes, I'm going to talk about some very specific ways to beat it. So, the key to this strategy is high ping. This is from Pirates of the Caribbean set. If this ship has a captain crew, she gets plus L to her base move. So if you'll remember, this is one of the ships from our fastest ships in the game episode, and it's going to be pretty fast, but it's not necessarily that this is so fast. It's also the combination of crew and events that we're using that are going to make this so strong. On the high ping, you can get other sacrifice. We don't really need the captain portion of this, but we're really looking for the sacrifice portion of this. Once per turn, you may eliminate one of the ship's crew to give her an extra action. So this is pirate, because we're putting it on a pirate ship. We're not going to do any faction shenanigans on this. So Captain Blackheart is the one that I have. You can find others that will do the crew elimination portion of it. We're also, now ignore the faction on these because I just simply don't have enough generic crew in the correct faction. But these would both be pirate. We have an explorer and an oarsman. And we also have Captain Jack Sparrow. So this is where the captain comes from that's going to be using with the captain crew plus L to base move ability. So first of all, Captain Jack Sparrow is the second piece of the most broken combo in this. And that is, the ship can move and shoot using the same move action, which is captain. So that gets us our plus L to base move. And when this ship is given an explore action, you can swap a treasure on the wild island with a crew on any friendly ship. Now this is any explore action on the island, even if it's one you've already explored before and it's just a free explore action. So that means that you can do this over and over again, and this is, you'll see how this works in just a minute. Not to mention, Captain Jack Sparrow is also linked to all pirate ships, so he adds one cargo to the ship. I want to be very specific and say he does not take up cargo space. He adds one cargo to the ship. He still takes up cargo space. So with these four, on a 4 cargo ship, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 taken up. Now the oarsman takes up no cargo space, so that means 3 cargo taken up. Captain Jack Sparrow gets us plus 1 cargo, so we have 5 cargo, 3 of it taken up with crew. All right, so high ping is going to start docked at our home island, and I'm going to set this off to the side here, and here's high ping. Now the distances between these islands would actually be much larger, but for this, I wanted to have them close together so you could see how they would all function. Now, the other 2 ships that we're going to have are actually going to be docked at our home island. And the second one we're going to have is Le Coeur du Lion. And I probably butchered that name. But this ship cannot shoot when she carries treasure. Not a big deal. It's a 2-point ship. That's what it's there for. 2 points for 3 cargo is fantastic. This even beats Banshee's Cry on point cost. Now, what are we going to be doing with this ship? Well, we're going to be sticking it at the back of our home island because it's going to have Princess Arua, which this is from South China Seas, so it's a little bit of a harder card to get a hold of, but this is one of our point break limit crew. Always placed face up, cannot be eliminated unless it sinks. Crew placed on this ship cost no points, but they always each take up 1 cargo space. So what are we going to put on the ship? Oarsmen. Now, we'll be putting other things on there eventually, but that's our 3 cargo that we have on there right now. So, we have 2 oarsmen and Princess Arua. That's taking up all 3 of our cargo. Again, we're going to set this one off to the side. So, Le Coeur du Lion is here. And then finally, we're going to have L'Intrépide. Again, I'm probably butchering this, but it's 5 points for 4 cargo. Now, that may not seem like quite as good of a deal. However, because it's 5 points, we're able to actually do some things we want to with it. So first of all, we're going to put Comte Jules de Cissé, again, butchering the name. This is the plus 5 points to your total build total. So that's one of our cargo spaces. We're also looking at Maurice Aristide. One of this ship's treasures is worth plus 2 gold when unloaded at your home island. Now this is the ability that we really want to watch because we're going to do some shenanigans with moving it around. And this is really powerful. The gold that we're going to get is going to be worth 2 extra every time we use this. And then, no surprise, the rest of the cargo is filled out with oarsmen. So all 4 cargo, and we're under the point limit. So we only have 3, 4, 5 points on this ship, so we don't have to do any point breaking or cargo breaking or anything like that. So L'Intrepide, this card is not punched, so I'm actually going to use this two-masted ship. I'm not going to see a whole lot of action from it. It's also going to stay docked at your home island. Now, the last two pieces of this are Hidden Cove. This is an event from South China Seas, and it says reveal this event at the beginning of one of your turns. As a free action, dock one of your ships at the nearest unexplored wild island or the nearest wild island with no treasure on it. This is very broken, and it's an event, and that's probably why a lot of people ban events, is because some of them are extremely powerful. Hidden Cove is one of them. The other piece that we want to put out there is we're going to have some forts. I have St. Pierre. If a ship docks at this fort and unloads at least 4 gold, it may be given a second action that turn. So that we can do instead of using our sacrifice captain. That's kind of one of the abilities, but really we just want to make sure we have some forts available. So on turn 1, assuming that we are going first. Now, if we assume someone else goes first and they play mermaids on Haipeng, and it's going to lock it up for so many turns, well, we want to make sure that we have the other South China Seas card called Favor of the Gods that would counter that. That's one of the things you have to watch out for, is some of the event play that would go on. Now, the other person takes their turn. We're going to assume that they don't make it to either of these islands. They have other islands that they're going for, or they're a slow combat ship. What we're going to do on our turn is play Hidden Cove. So this happens once and then is discarded. Haipeng is now going to essentially be teleported to this island, no matter how far away it is. It's the nearest island with treasure on it, and it's unexplored. Now, for our turn, what we're going to do is the first thing we're going to do is we have our Explorer. The ship may dock and explore a wild island using the same move action. So now we can perform our Explore action. We don't even have to move because we're already there. So we use our Explore action, and it becomes explored. We look at all the treasure on it. Okay, and we say, all right, well, it's been given an Explore action, so we're going to use Captain Jack Sparrow. When this ship is given an Explore action, you can swap a treasure on the wild island with a crew on any friendly ship. Now, we have 2 cargo left on our ship here. We're going to pick up the 2 smaller ones here. We're going to send, we're going to pick up a little bit differently here. So we're going to send this one back to L'Intrepide, and we're going to swap it for an oarsman. So now we have an oarsman that we can put on our ship. That's actually going to be placed on the wild island itself. So the oarsman's actually hanging out on the island. And then we're also going to have this treasure that gets put on L'Intrepide. So that's the first action, is an Explore action with the Haipeng. Our second action is going to be a Explore action to unload this treasure. Now, if you remember, we have Maurice Aristide on here, and so he's going to drop this treasure off, and it's going to be worth +2. So now that's actually worth 6. We're also going to, as a free action, we're going to take Maurice and put him onto Le Coeur de Lion. Actually, not yet. We're not going to do that yet. Now that we've dropped that treasure off, and we have a slot open on L'Intrepide, what we're actually going to do is we're going to sacrifice an oarsman. Okay, that's using our Captain Blackheart sacrifice ability. That gets us an extra action. And now we can move L plus L plus S to this other island over here, which hopefully it's that close. However, it may not necessarily be that close to us. So we're just going to assume that we can make it over there. And because we have that Explorer, we can explore it. And so we're going to look at this one. Remember, we have that treasure on our ship. We're going to flip all these over. We're going to send the biggest one back home with Captain Jack Sparrow, and we're going to put it on Le Coeur du Lion. And we're going to swap it again for that oarsman that's now on this island. And if we want to, we can kind of do some treasure swapping here to trade up on our treasure. Now, we have, this treasure is still on Le Coeur de Lion. Now we're going to do a free action, and we're going to send Maurice over to Le Coeur du Lion. And now you remember what Maurice does is gives us +2 to our gold, so we're going to drop this off for another +2. So now we have 6, 10, +2, +2, 14 gold on our home island on the first turn, just based on the random that we drew. Now, with that, we can place a fort. We have enough gold to be able to take one of these coins and say, let's place a fort. So we're going to place a fort on one of these islands, whichever one has more gold, which usually is the second one that we look at. And oh my goodness, we now have all this gold locked up as well. All right, that was all just the first turn. On the second turn, what you can do is you can give an explore action. You can pick up your oarsman from the island. You can take one of the treasures. Now remember, we have to leave at least 3 gold in here. We're going to take our big one. We're going to ship it back home to Le Coeur du Lion again. And we're going to get the second oarsman that was on that one and put it back on the island. So now we've used our first action as an explorer. We've used Jack Sparrow to ship a treasure home. We give an action to Le Coeur du Lion. It does its drop off. And now we have yet another +2 on the island. So now we have 3 on the island that are 3 +2s that are on here. So we sacrifice the oarsman that we just picked up. We sail back over to this island. And we can do some exploring, swap some treasure around, and we're going to use Captain Jack Sparrow once again to swap with the oarsman on L'Intrépide. So that oarsman comes back out here. This treasure goes home to L'Intrépide, and then we give an action to Le Coeur du Lion, a free action to swap that crew over to L'Intrépide, and now we give the explore action to L'Intrépide, and it drops off the treasure coin with another +2. So we have 4 +2s on this island, plus all of this treasure. And that's literally the second turn. Now, at this point, if you haven't already wrapped up the game with an immense amount of treasure, you can continue to run high-paying around to pick up treasure from other islands and crew swapping. Now, one thing you do have to be careful of is that a lot of our oarsmen are out here, so we really don't have a good way to swap any more treasure back home. So it does become a bit of a problem. You can just manually run home with the largest treasure pieces that you have and hope that you can either dock it onto these ships, which takes a little bit more time, or just simply unload it to try and get the maximum you can back home. You can also go to your fort, pick up as much treasure from that as you possibly can, and hope for the best to be able to move treasure around a little bit. And now we have our biggest coins, and then you can take them home from there. So that's one way to really take this out. Again, that was just 2 turns that we were able to completely clear out 2 islands worth of treasure and get a good portion of it back home, as well as lock up an island with a fort. And if you have additional forts, you could put those out. You could go to other islands, that sort of a thing. So you can see how this is super powerful, being able to take out 2 complete islands, and sometimes there's only 4 on the table. So more than likely, you've already gotten more than half the gold at that point in just 2 turns. So what are we going to do to be able to combat this high paying? Well, find out next time.